We're so pleased to share that during the summer at Westside Leadership Academy, a STEM camp took place amongst our students where they were stimulated with lots of information around careers in STEM. And now we will share with you a short video that recaps their experience from the summer.
Students transition into high school, along with some of our 9th grade students and our 10th grade students, to give them an idea about STEM and some possibilities here at Westside Leadership Academy. We're looking to grow our STEM offerings for students from anything from intro to urban agriculture to robotics to some drone. Ms. Williams, STEM coordinator here at Westside Leadership Academy, was able to meet with students and provide them some projects that they would be able to do.
We offered computer science, basic robotics, and then engineering projects in the summer. We also were able to get an application.
Is looking to incorporate that into the classroom for the students, that they will see that on routine within their math and their science and English classes and even the social studies classes, so that students can see that things that you create, innovation does not have to be in a small little secluded box, that it is intertwined in a lot of the disciplines of which they will partake of this year.
And that concludes the portion for Gary Snapshots. I just want to add that this was the summer and it continues into the school year, and we were able to actually visit some classrooms today where I met a nice group of young people who are in the Introduction to Engineering class. So the STEM continues. Thank you, board. Thank you, Dr. Scott. Thank
you. Public comments. All right, so public comment information. A statement on public comments. The Gary Community School Board of Trustees welcomes comments from the community. As a result, the agenda for each regular meeting provides time for public expression. The period of public expression is limited to 3 minutes per individual and 30 minutes total discussion of items on the agenda, or to express concerns relative to the operation of the school board action, and other items of general educational interest. If there are many people wishing to address the board, we may limit the amount of time a person may speak. Comments should be directed to the board, not to individual board members. Comments shall not be abusive or argumentative. Persons making comments shall not debate statements made by other persons. It shall not be permissible to orally present or discuss complaints against individual employees of the Gary Community School Corporation at any of the Board of School Trustees meetings. Issues relating to personnel, individual circumstances, or an individual school will be referred to the building principal or an appropriate administrator in an attempt to resolve the issue prior to an appeal before the board. The speaker cannot transfer their remaining time to another person. The board president will enforce these rules and may take actions necessary to maintain order at the meeting. Such actions may include, but are not limited to, interrupting the speaker if the statement is too lengthy, unduly repetitive, or otherwise violates the rules. The president may terminate the address of any speaker who violates the rules. Limit the total number of time devoted to public comments. If there's a large number of people wishing to address the board, or if there's a large agenda of other business before the board. With that, first person I'd like to call is Mr. Bob Day.
Yes, my name is Bob Day with Days Asphalt Paving. I've been here in business 35 years here in Gary Westside graduate. And I wanted to just bring the attention to you guys. We paved Westside parking lot about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I say we because, like I say, I'm a Westside graduate and my business has been here for 35 years. And there's grass growing up through that parking lot right now in several areas because it's splitting and cracking up because it was poor material was put on the parking lot for number one. And number two, it's never been maintenance. So I'm just stopping to let you guys know that I'm interested in working with you in maintenance in that parking lot because I don't think we got another $1 million to spend on another parking lot over there. And that's what's going to happen if we don't maintenance those cracks with hot rubber before the winter gets here. Because it's going to bust it up to the point where you can't maintenance it. Once it goes all the way down to the dirt, hot rubber don't stick to dirt. So I just wanted to bring that to you guys' attention because I think it's something that needs to be addressed.
Thank you.
All right.
Sir,
Mr. Day.
can you give your information to Ms. Wright? Ms. Wright, can you put your hand up and she'll get back with you, okay? She's our Chief Operating Officer.
Next we have Minister Marva Coleman.
Good afternoon, board members and our newly selected superintendent. I'd like to welcome you to our community. And I want to let you know before I finish my 3 minutes that I am willing to help in the school district any way I can. I am a retired teacher, taught 54 years in the Gary school system. Thank you. And when I retired, my students were doing well. They averaged in the 70, 75, 80, and I even had, every year I had 2 or 3 students who scored at second level college, especially in math. I've been in Gary since I was 2 years old, so I'm now 80, so you can do the math. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but in the African culture, there's the term principle Sankofa, which means go back and retain your history, otherwise you repeat it. So comments I may make may not be as well taken, but I'm, as I said, willing to help. When I was a parent at New Wallace High School, I had 3 sons that graduated from New Wallace, and I was a PTA president. And we wanted to infuse African history, culture into the district. And at that time, the school board wouldn't respond, or the superintendent. And so I wrote the referendum to vote to expand the school board and to get my husband on the school board. And that did happen. We won that referendum, and we included the infusion of African and African American history and culture. And then he became a school board member, and we developed the curriculum for infusion of African and African American culture. And well, we've gone through some changes since then, and I was just a little floored when I saw the scores of our district. And so we don't really know what happened, but I think we have a lot to do if our scores are 5% at the bottom in math and 10% in language arts, and we have a lot of work to do in this community. That was 3 minutes, right?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Cole. Dr. Michaela Spangenberg.
Good evening. I was sorry to have missed our last meeting, unfortunately. I had been ill for quite some time. But then it brought to mind, and I went and I checked on the website. For whatever reason, and I do think that there should have been some minutes that had been approved prior to just the minutes that we're approving tonight, but I don't know. We don't seem to have any minutes on our website for anything, which is kind of a problem, ODL speaking. And I feel that the statement regarding public comment by the board that gets read definitely is moving in a better direction. I feel like the first time I heard it, it sounded a little bit different. It feels like it's moving in a better direction now. I also was curious about when that language originated and when that language, and maybe something happened at the last meeting, but I don't think that that's what occurred, because it seems like each time it sounds better. Maybe I just like it better for no particular reason. But that and other things I think are action items on our agenda. It looks like we have a lot of things involve language that are going to be approved, voted upon, they're action items, maybe they're just going to be discussed, it's unclear. But it doesn't, I'm not sure when that language, if it exists already, when it originated. I guess for me, that's something that, you'd expect to have developed across several meetings. And I feel like the first meeting we already had things coming out the gate. So if there's other spaces, those things are being developed, and I think that needs to be apparent to the community, because every meeting that occurs, even an executive session, there's supposed to be notice. And anything that involves 5 or more, well, actually 3 or more of you guys, that's just a public meeting by default. You can only have executive sessions under certain circumstances, none of which would cover any of that. And so I definitely hope that maybe we can get a little bit more transparency. Hopefully we can get maybe a little bit more detail about what we can come to expect in terms of academic gains and progress for this upcoming year. Something that people can really sink their teeth into. I appreciate everybody and hope we can continue to move forward in a good way. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Tyndall.
Good evening, all. I am Mrs. Lovetta Tyndall, a 1966 honor graduate of the historically profound and architecturally renowned Proficient Learning Institution, Theodore Roosevelt High School. And I am an advocate for high quality and equitable education for all students. We, all of us, you and I, have a great opportunity to make the Gary CSC students better through offering them the best education possible. We, all of us, have the opportunity and responsibility to see all Gary CSC students being offered a high quality, equitable education, whether high achiever, low achiever, or classified among the special population. I challenge you, Superintendent Stokes, Board President in his absence, and your fellow board members, as well as all parents, guardians, tax-paying Gary citizens, to work for the good of every Gary CSC student. We are to create and use the best tools, that is, teachers properly credentialed, counselors properly degreed, facilities adequately maintained, and learning materials, age and grade appropriate. Let us create an ongoing learning environment of excellence as the norm, not the exception. We are to have a learning environment and culture of high expectations and performance. Our students are to be Yale worthy, Harvard worthy, Oxford worthy, not prison worthy. Again, not prison worthy. Leaders, not followers. Builders, not destroyers. Let us work together to have our students be prepared. And when I say together, I mean board, superintendent, parents, stakeholders. Let's work to have our students be prepared to be progressive, self-thinking, intelligent, globally competitive, respectful, self-respecting, highly regarded, not disdained, demeaned, or devalued, not undereducated or miseducated. Let us value and cherish our students for being the great gifts they are to us. And let's treasure and respect our parents. Thank you so much.
Mr. Robert Clubs.
Mr. President, before I start, could I get a clarification on a couple of things? The difference between public comment information and individual public comments?
The individual public comments are what you're doing right now, as opposed to providing your individual comment. Public comment information was the statement that I read.
What you read prior to the meeting, is that a state law? Is that something that the appointing board come up, does it apply to all boards across the state, or just this board?
No, all boards across the state.
Can I get a copy of it?
You can look it up.
Or can I get a copy of what you just read?
Sure, I can make that happen.
Okay, today, I'm gonna make some clarifications. Last time I was up here, and I made a statement about the board being a dictatorship. I wanna explain something to the board. When I come before you all, I don't come to be adverse or anything like that. With all due respect to Dr. Stokes and the board, a young man reached out to me now. You have two attorneys sitting over there, and I'm pretty sure they know what open the door means. When that young man got up and spoke about what happened to him at West Side, he opened the door because he called names, he gave his name. So therefore, the door was already open. So you can't say what I cannot say if it relates to an issue that has to do with the Gary Community School Corporation. And that's all I was doing. When a young man reaches out to me, a student reaches out to me, then I'm going to try to do all of my power to bring his issues to some kind of resolution. That young man was very fragile emotionally, and the people that he depended on fractured it even more. And when I tried to get some resolve, everybody turned back on him. When he came before you that day, he was crying for education. The only person that reached out to him was Dr. Stokes. And she hadn't even started yet. The board didn't, nobody else did. He's still suffering from what happened to him at that school, and there's still been no resolution. Now, I have provided his statement, I provided Dr. McLeod, all of the things that they was doing because they were still marking him absent, although they told him he couldn't come on the property. And they were still sending him school assignments, which would mean that they expelled him, but they keep him on the roll for getting the money or whatever, they keep him having an expulsion record. That is fraud, it's wrong. I brought it to y'all's attention, nobody wants to listen. Only thing I'm trying to do is just be supportive of the student when they ask me for help. The other thing I want to let y'all know is that Senate Bill 327 that brought forth the appointed board, it didn't say anything about,
Your time is up, Mr.
well, it didn't say anything about removing the current board. So my term is up in November. So I was elected by 14,252 people. And I think
All right, at this time, we will move on to consent agenda.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.8.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.8. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Action items.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to initially make a motion to approve items 6.1, 6.3, 6.4, and 6.5 under the action items.
All right, it's been a motion to approve 6.1, 6.3, 6.4, and 6.5. Is there a second?
So moved.
And it's been moved and seconded.
Clarification, 6.1, 6.3, 6.4, and 6.5.
Correct. All right, all in favor?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, you have to have your roll call.
Roll call on this one, okay. All right, roll call, please.
Dr. Johnson Woods,
Yes.
Dr. McLeod,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
And I say yes as well, 4-0.
I would vote of 4-0, motion carried.
And continuing on, Mr. Chairman, if I might, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the following resolution, and if I could read that, I will so do.
Make a motion, then we can read
Okay,
that.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution that I'm about to read relating to the bylaws.
All right, there's been a motion for a resolution for the policies and bylaws development. Is there a second?
Just to have the resolution read, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
Okay. Adoption resolution. Resolved that the bylaws and policies published on the district website, www.garycsc.k12.in.us, and codified in the comprehensive document entitled Bylaws and Policies of the Gary Community School Corporation Board of Education are hereby adopted, and that all bylaws and policies heretofore adopted by the Gary Community School Corporation Board of Education are hereby rescinded. Further be it resolved that in the event any policy, part of a policy, or section of the bylaws is judged to be inconsistent with law, inoperative by a court of competent jurisdiction, or is invalidated by a policy or contract duly adopted by this board, the remaining bylaws, policies, and parts of policies shall remain in full effect. Take notice that the foregoing resolution was adopted by the Gary Community School Corporation Board of Education at a public meeting held at Gary, Indiana on August 14, 2024.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson Woods. So is there a second for the resolution for policies and bylaws development?
Second.
Second. Dr. McLeod. Any questions or comments? So first, I'd like to say, as everyone knows, we've been under state takeover for 7 years. And so at this time, the policies and bylaws weren't updated in effect the way as it reflects for public School Corporation. And so at this time, we're going through that process. It's gonna be a lengthy process, but we're going through that process to get all the policies and bylaws up to date, to match the rest of the state. All right. Roll call vote, please.
Dr. Johnson Woods,
Yes.
Dr. McLeod,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
and I say yes, vote is 4-0.
With a vote 4-0, resolution for policies and bylaws development is passed. Okay, so we're gonna move on next to information items. Cell tower opportunity, Mr. White.
Good afternoon. My name is Vincent White. I'm the interim IT director for Gary School. Good afternoon, Gary Community School Board of Trustees, Dr. Stokes, Superintendent, and Gary Community. First, I'd like to apologize for the little technical difficulties we're going through. We have a new box going up. The part that they purchased is not working as well as it should be, so we have another one on this way. But getting down to the cell tower, today we're going to talk about how we can take Gary School to new heights. Crown Castle has approached the Gary School Corporation with a proposal to install cell towers at Banneker Elementary School and Gary Middle School. Now, I want everyone to understand this is just a proposal. We haven't made any contracts. We haven't made any agreement with Crown Castle. This is just a proposal. The benefits of this would be improved internet connectivity for our students and for the Miller community. We have enhanced digital learning, a steady stream of income for our schools. They're offering to pay $17,400 per year per location, that's 2 locations, with a 3% annual increase. Potentially, we're looking at a 50-year lease term. Castle will handle all this technical stuff. We're speaking of insurance, maintenance, zoning. They're basically asking for 5,000 square feet of land at both sites. This could be a game changer for our digital infrastructure. This has the opportunity to boost our tech capabilities while adding a new revenue stream. I'm not saying it will solve all our problems, but it might just help us connect some of the data packages together. I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you for your time.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. White?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
what were the schools again that?
Banneker Elementary and Gary Middle School.
And both of those schools are in Miller?
Yes.
And it would help in the connectivity?
It's a cell tower that they would run just like any other cell tower you see in our regions or around the world. They'll have, I guess, AT&T and all the other companies that want to buy rent space on the tower.
So our other schools don't need that cell tower? That cell tower would only help with the Miller school?
These are the only 2 locations that they asked us to look at. I can't say if they want to go somewhere. This isn't for the school itself. It's a cell tower. It's for the area, the surrounding area.
Okay, thank you.
If I might, while it's not technically for the schools, we do benefit from the use. Not to mention, as he shared, there's approximately $17,000 a year for each site that they would pay us for putting it on our property. And I believe that the property space would be probably half this room. So they would put it there, and that is a 3% increase every year that we would benefit as a district.
Do they have any idea about how long construction will take?
Yes, they're looking at a year.
Okay. And we know this cell coverage in Miller is notorious.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. White?
Thank you. Have a nice day.
All right, we have the first reading of Gary Community School Corporation Board bylaws. Dr. Stokes.
Thank you. As our, it's not up. So if we can get it up, I want it to be up so that we can see. I know she said we were having some difficulty, but I really do need the visual. Okay, great. So there are approximately 55 bylaws. These are considered in the 0 series is what we call it. There are a lot of series, so we will be coming before the board with a lot of information that deals with policies. As we just shared, or Mr. Johnson just shared, you know, we've been in a 7-year takeover. So we are literally flying the plane and building it at the same time. With that being said, we have to approve some bylaws so that we can begin to have processes and procedures for our staff and students in our community, in our district. Once we have bylaws approved, we will move then to student template, which deals with the way we govern our students. We'll move into professional, which is the way we deal with our staff. There are a lot of bylaws, as I see. Can you show the next page, please? So that's page 1 of 2. So if you just want to take a minute and just look at some of the topics here. We are unable to bring each of these individually. We probably would be here till midnight if we were trying to do that. But what we do want you to know is that once we approve them, this is just the first reading. They will come back again. The board has time to look at them. These are their bylaws, not mine. These are the board's bylaws. So they will look at them, ask questions, approve as they deem necessary. And once they're approved, they will be available for public consumption. Everyone will be able to see the bylaws. With that being said, I just wanted you to see what the topics are. As you see, for example, policy 0166 deals with agenda. Policy 0167.1 deals with voting. So these are just the bylaws that govern the board. And again, these are the board's bylaws, not the school's. Are there any questions from my board members?
Does anyone have any questions?
All right.
And I do want to make a point just so that everyone, Dr. Johnson Woods is on the policy committee. And so she's been meeting with will be meeting with Dr. Stokes to go over the policies and bylaws, and then they'll be presented to the rest of the board.
So if not, I can speak to that. We've tried to get times to be set up. Those times will be made available to the public. As you know, the public can come to policy meetings. At that meeting, though, there again is a meeting for us to do our business. So we're not necessarily entertaining questions or anything like that, but you are able to come to the policy meetings. We will put out when those dates are finalized of when they will be. And our goal at the policy meetings, of course, is to make sure that we're looking at and interpreting policies for our district, and then we will be able to make administrative guidelines based on those policies.
All right, administrative report. Okay, so with permission granted from our CFO, Linda Zaborowski, we'll have a financial report. Mr. Steve Dalton.
Good evening. It sounds like we won't have great PowerPoint, and I'm old enough to remember when we didn't have great PowerPoint, so I'll try to wave my arms around a bunch. I met your new CFO, Linda. Welcome to the team. I'm looking forward to her taking this spot at the podium as soon as she's comfortable and ready to do so. And as you all know, I'm a bit of an imposter. Daniel does all the work. So I'm standing here holding up his PowerPoint and the summary of financials that Daniel and Barry Comer have pulled together over the last month to give you your monthly update. And you know I'm kind of brief, so you can ask a bunch of questions afterwards that I won't know the answers to, but I'll make up good answers to. You wanted some idea of how the money flows through the corporation, so we created, this is first an update to the spreadsheet that you saw last month. It shows you the cash balances in the far right column for each of the major funds. some of the numbers got big, and the reason numbers get big in the middle of the year is because we get property taxes in June. So sometimes they jump in June and they drift back down in cash balances until we get to our second property tax distribution in December. The education fund is at an all-time high of $12 million, and obviously in future years as we work through budget, we're going to have to figure out ways to get the education fund to help the operations fund, because the operation fund isn't feeling as comfortable and healthy as the education fund is. You can go ahead to the next slide if you want. So we tried to graph so you can see the flow of money through the fund. This is just the education fund. Each bar at the bottom is a month: January, February, March, April, May, June, and now July. And what happened, so I'll wave my hands. What happened is we trended down in the operation. Was it the operations or the education I was looking at? Education. Okay, and the education fund is the money we get from the state. It's not property tax, so it drifts kind of equal month to month to month to month. There are some interesting little nuances to the education fund. It gets transfers in from the debt service fund because our common school loans are withheld from our basic grant distributions from the state. So we take money from the debt service fund, we put it in the education fund, and so sometimes you'll see a bump because that's when those transfers were made from the debt service fund. But typically it's a pretty level fund. As it grows in balance over time, you saw it got to $12 million here in July. The next fund, I actually have these sheets in front of me. The operations fund is the one that gets property taxes, and you'll see that it bounces a lot more. It comes down in cash balance, it gets down in May when it's about the lowest, and then it comes back up as property taxes come in June. Next slide. There you go. This is my arm swinging. It's about the same as the graph, right? And you have on the side your expenses, so you can kind of see salaries, benefits, supplies. The operations fund is heavy on transportation and the expenses that we carry that are not related to teachers. So the buildings, the facilities, the IT, the transportation. Transportation, of course, is one of our largest expenses. And we made some payments in the last 6 months that kind of caught us up because we were getting a little bit behind on payments. Nobody's fault in this room. I think some of the invoices just were delayed in getting to us. Next slide, please. Referendum fund. Referendum fund does the exact same thing every month. It gives money to the operations fund, it gives money to the education fund, and then it refills in June with property taxes. It'll do that forever. You'll draw down on those dollars every month, and then you'll get property taxes in June and property taxes in December. Okay. Pie charts. Hey, and the colors look better than my black and white does. Okay. Each month is a color. January, February, March, April, May, June, July. And then the big box is what's remaining for the rest of the year to be spent according to budget in the fund. And it just so happens that with 5 months left, 41% of your education fund is remaining, which is exactly on budget. Go to the next fund, which is not as good. Operations fund only has 21% of its budget left because transportation is running higher than was originally budgeted this time last year. And we'll be coming to you probably in a month to ask for an additional appropriation to make sure that we have enough money to pay the bills in the operations fund this year. Go ahead. Is the referendum fund the last one? The referendum fund has a little bit more money in it because we don't actually budget every single dollar. It actually builds a little bit of reserves. I'll pause for questions, Mr. President.
So, transportation, because of the increase in fuel costs and things like that?
I don't know the full answer, and maybe the superintendent can answer that. I think part of it is we expanded service about a year ago.
So some of the transportation costs is that we received a bill that was about 1.5 mil in June. Okay. I say we reservedly because I wasn't officially on. However, that payment was made around the June, July era. And part of that was because Ryder, or however you want to look at it, there were some bills that were not sent to us from as far as back 7 months ago. And some of that was transportation to take some of our students with special needs to other areas in the state, like to Indianapolis, maybe the blind school or what have you. But with that being said, we definitely want to take care of all of our students, but we didn't receive these bills until like 7 months later. And of course we want to pay our bills, but it gave us a big hit, if you will.
It did, I remember that phone call.
Sorry.
Other questions from the board? Anyone else have any? My last comment, Mr. President, is that we'll be back here in a month to talk about the budget for 2025. We'll have 2 hearings on that budget, one in September and one in October. There'll be no vote until the October meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Board reports and communication. Individual board member reports.
Mr.
Dr.
Chair.
McLeod.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It was a great start to the Gary Community School Corporation. Today, I'm representing in my orange and my blue. I was at Frankie Woods McCullough this morning under the leadership of Mrs. McKinley. The students were there, parents were smiling, children were smiling, so thank you, Dr. Stokes, for your leadership on opening today, as well as the administrators, teachers, bus drivers, maintenance, everyone who was on point today. We had a great day, and I just want to acknowledge all of them, and especially the parents for making sure that those babies were there. I was very happy. I'm still tired because I don't usually get up that early in the morning. So kudos to you all who lead the schools for being on your post at 7 and 7:30, and maybe even earlier in the morning. Thank you to the IT. I wanted to mention that I'm so happy to see this large screen that I don't have to put my glasses on. So I'm thankful that you all are advancing in the technology. And even though Mr. White said that there's some other software issues that they need to do, the speakers are working, and it's good to have a large screen. So kudos to you all. Instead of the screens going off and on in previous meetings, you know, we are advancing in our technology, so I'm glad to see that also. There are some teaching positions that I know are open. People have called. Please go to the Gary website, and I believe they should call Mrs. Wright.
Yes.
Okay, I just
Yes.
want to make sure.
Yes.
This is Mrs. Wright.
Yes.
If you're looking for a job, if you have your resume together, please call. We're looking for all of the expertise we can get here in the Gary Community School Corporation. Last but not least, we have 2 schools, I believe, that are STEM certified. Banneker and Beveridge. Beveridge and Bailey. I knew it was a B. And Glen Park. Oh, see, we're moving up. All right. And Glen Park. We have some of the best opportunities here at the Gary Community School Corporation, and we just need to continue to highlight that and to share with the community what we have. And from what I understand, that there is STEM curriculum throughout all of the schools. So bring your children to the Gary Community School Corporation. Just go up to any school and register your child. I know the principals and the FACE liaisons and all of them stand ready don't worry about the uniform. If you don't have a uniform right now, just bring your children to the school and we will find a uniform for your child. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dr. McClure. Any other comments? Well, I just want to say, I talked to Dr. Stokes earlier today, and so from all the things that I've heard and seen on Facebook, opening day was going very well, and definitely look forward to a great school year for our students and for our teachers and for the district as a whole.
And I think, having said that, I do want to add one thing. I know many of us were at the Railcast Stadium on Saturday. The city, First Lady Crystal Melton, and a team of a lot of people put on a great event. There was over a couple thousand people that showed up for the back to school rally, giveaway, backpacks, etc. So I saw a lot of partners, a lot of people coming together, and that was definitely a successful event. And so I just want to say kudos to everybody who played a part in making that happen.
I think we have 3 tables at Gary Community School Corporation. Or more, yeah. And so, definitely glad you mentioned that. All right, superintendent report. Dr. Stokes.
Thank you so much. we talked about opening day. So I would like to have Mrs. Whittington come up and share a little bit about our opening day today. It was successful.
Good afternoon again. And I'm just excited. If you can hear the music in the background, by special request, thank you, Crystal, for honoring the request of the theme song for Welcome Back, Carter. I know I'm dating myself. It's okay. Welcome Back is what the theme of the day was. But we started a couple of weeks ago. We started with our administrators retreat. And if you look at the screen, you'll see some scenes from where our students, our administrators were getting their professional development. And then that next Friday, we had our opening day for teachers and staff, where it was held at Gary Westside Leadership Academy. And if you look over into the left bottom part of the screen, you could see our superintendent on stage delivering a few tunes as we hyped up the crowd as they returned for a good school year. After the opening day for our teachers and staff, we had district open houses yesterday at every building. And so we crisscrossed across the district, and there's some scenes from Beveridge, McCullough, and you can even see Calvin the Cougar, or is it Calvetta? I think we have a lady cougar over at McCullough. And so, Calvinetta, we give her all types of nicknames. But lots of fun times, students and parents coming out getting information to prepare for today. And also going back to Saturday, we partnered with the City of Gary, First Lady Melton, where Gary Community School Corporation was on high display. As you can see, our band was there, our union representatives, that's our First Lady highlighted, our mayor and superintendent, team members, administrators, students, and a lot of great resources. So if you like additional coverage to view, head over to our Facebook page. We went live several times highlighting our students and all the offerings and benefits that they receive at the Gary Railcat Stadium. And then last but not least, there was today, the first day of school. We were able to visit all of the schools in the district as we divided and conquered. We had representation from administration in every building to check on the buses, to check on registration, to check on the families. We even attended the boo-hoo breakfast for the parents as they boo-hooed, as they let those little hands go and allowed their young people to march into the classrooms. Again, more live coverage is available on our Facebook page. I'd like to acknowledge all of the different community partners who did different things for our teachers and students over the past couple of weeks, whether it was giving school supplies, having special events for our teachers and staff. There are too many to name, so we won't name them all, but a big thank you to them all. And just a big thank you to Crystal O'Brien for making everything look so beautiful and bright and lovely, because that's what our buildings look like. And we want you to engage. And last but not least, my favorite part is the media coverage. ABC, CBS, The Times, The Post, Capital B, and several other outlets were on scene today. And I'm getting text messages because we were on the 5 o'clock news. So I'll be posting the links of those interviews on our website, on social media. We're just making a great team, and I'm just excited as though I were starting all over again. Thank you for this opportunity, and there's so much more to come.
Thank you so much. We did have a great day, and it was really a lot of fun getting out to just hear from our students. I mean, that's what this is all about. Their excitement, their enthusiasm, and as I shared with the media today, the one goal that we want is that every child feels valued, supported, and respected, and that they know that this is a great place to learn, and that Gary Community Schools for us is the only choice. With that being said, I want to talk a little bit about our draft agenda. As you know, we always like to have a draft agenda. Can we pull that up real quick? So these are some of the things that I'm going to highlight. Our normal agenda, but what I do want you to know is that our Gary Ready Snapshot will be about the 3.1 bike bus experience. I'm excited. I want to hear about that. Also too, if you look at our action items, we now have what today was for information, which was the first reading of the Gary Community Schools Board of Policies. We will be bringing it back as a second reading and as an action item. Also the cell towers, we will be bringing that back. For information items, we will be having our first reading of the Gary Community Schools Corporation student template. So this is all of the policies that will support and govern how we interact with our students and how we expect our students to show up and interact in the school environment. We will have, as an administrative report, the facilities update. So we will share a little bit more about that. And I think everything else is pretty routine. With that being said, I give this back to our Vice President.
All right, thank you, Dr. Stokes. All right, so at this time we get to the adjournment portion of the meeting. So I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
The motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?